If you love cozy mysteries that put just as much emphasis on character and heart as they do on actually solving the cases, or if you adore books where tea and friendship and moral clarity are just as important as catching the culprit, if so, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I'll be reviewing The Woman Who Walked in Sunshine by Alexander McCall Smith. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're looking at the 16th installment in the #1 ladies detective agency, The Woman Who Walked in Sunshine. As usual, I loved this book. It's warm and kind and funny and thoughtful in all the ways you hope a #1 ladies detective agency novel will be. And as usual, with these books, I try to give a decent summary without giving away too much about how Precious and Grace resolve the various cases they take on, but some details are in order. And of course, we are always interested in seeing what happens to our lady detectives and their friends. As a reminder, I cannot say the main characters' names. I struggle with them, so I call them by their first names. So normally in the books, Precious goes by Mma Ramotswe, and I have a hard time remembering that, so I will just call her Precious, and then Grace is Mma Ramotswe, and that one's not as hard, but I think just for parallelism, I'm going to stick with Precious and Grace. So in this one, Precious is unexpectedly encouraged and perhaps gently pushed into taking a holiday from Grace and from her husband, Mr. JLB Mattaconi. Both insist that she deserves a break, though Precious is suspicious of their motives and thinks maybe they don't want her around for some reason. And so reluctantly, she agrees to step away from the agency, even though her idea of vacation turns out to be not exactly restful. Instead of relaxing, she finds herself drawn into not one, but two complex and emotional cases. The first one involves Mma Ramotswe, who is the matron of the orphan farm and longtime friend of the agency, and one of the most interesting characters, or at least side characters, in the whole series, in my opinion. Her late brother, Government Kaboneng, that's his first name, Government, was on the verge of being publicly honored when suddenly rumors begin to circulate about a shadowy affair in his past. So Mma Ramotswe is devastated, and so she turns to Precious, off the record of course, to investigate quietly and salvage his good name. The deeper Precious looks, the more she uncovers layers of past relationships and family betrayals and personal pain that threaten to reopen wounds for people she cares about. And it's a delicate case, not just about finding the truth, but deciding what the truth is for and whether it's always best to reveal it, or deciding who and how you should reveal it, or if sometimes it's compassion and discretion are more important. The second case is deeply personal and also a little heartbreaking. This is one of the sadder cases. One of the things that is always in the background of this book is just some of the struggles a developing country like Botswana may have. Although Botswana, at least in many respects, has done quite well compared to many of its neighbors, at least economically speaking. It has a much higher life expectancy. It has a much higher income average, and the GDP per capita is considerably higher than many of its neighbors, although probably not South Africa. But the point is that it's generally done quite well. That doesn't change the fact that it still has many people that are affected by, especially the HIV/AIDS epidemic, which is something that is still to this day going on in Africa, and so that is going to be something that is always in the background of these books, and sometimes it is something that they directly comment on. And so in this second case, which I said is personal and heartbreaking, you are going to see that while Precious is on holiday, as we've already said, doesn't actually turn out to be much of a holiday, she meets a young boy named Samuel, who is being used and abused by a woman pretending to be his guardian. Samuel is hungry, he is scared, and he has clearly been mistreated. So Precious takes it upon herself to uncover what really happened to Samuel's mother. And the results are both troubling and deeply moving. And I should also say, she takes this on after Samuel is actually very naughty and does some things that he should not towards Precious. And instead of just being very angry with him, she goes out to actually try to figure out what she can about his life. So it just shows the immense amount of heart and the immense amount of capacity for love that Precious has. There's actually a moment in the storyline where Precious, who's normally a very calm and diplomatic presence, is going to physically restrain the abusive woman to protect Samuel. It is a rare and powerful moment of action in a series that usually champions gentler forms of justice. And as the case unfolds, it becomes a reminder of how detective work is for Precious, always about protecting the vulnerable and not just about catching criminals. I will tell you, if you have read these books or are familiar with them, they always talk about how she is traditionally built, which is, of course, a euphemism for being someone that is quite overweight. And in this moment of restraining someone, she uses that to her advantage. I actually think I have in one of my favorite quotes a little more clarity about that. So you can jump down to the quotes section if you want to know exactly what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, Mma Ramotswe, or as I call her, Grace, because I have a hard time saying Mma Ramotswe, she is in charge of the agency, and she wastes no time in confronting her old nemesis, Violet Sopoto. Violet Sopoto shows up frequently in the first several books, and then it seems like as we get a little later in the series, she shows up in almost all of them. She is a very shady character, and of course Grace has a variety of reasons why she just does not like her very much. So she is going to find herself clashing with Violet Sopoto. Violet Sopoto has started a fraudulent secretarial school. As you recall, she barely passed the school that she went to. Of course, Grace got the unprecedented 97% on the final exam, and Violet, on the other hand, barely passed it. One of the things that makes them such nemesis. So why she feels as she would have any ability to start a school of her own would be a mystery to anyone that knows her, unless, of course, you're aware of just how underhanded she can be. So, using a combination of Clovis Anderson's principles of private detection, a key component of the whole series, and her own relentless sense of justice, Grace exposes Violet in a very satisfying, if not slightly chaotic, showdown. It's a storyline that provides some comic relief, but also shows Grace's growth and her genuine dedication to doing the right thing, even if she sometimes lacks Precious's soft touch. Through it all, we get those classic scenes. Of course, there's ample scenes with cups of red bush tea and moments of self-reflection and the unique ethical dilemmas that make this series feel like a quiet conversation with an old friend. And always, the book ends not with some dramatic fanfare, but with doses of kindness, some justice, and of course, a significant effort at providing human dignity. So let me tell you some of my favorite quotes. One of the biggest strengths of this series is just how quotable it is. Alexander McCall Smith has a gift for slipping both humor and deep wisdom into the quietest corners of his prose. Let's start with some funny ones. For example, I shall go and sit under a tree. Which tree, ma'am? Oh, there are many trees in this life, she said. It does not matter which tree you choose, as long as you choose the right one. It's a classic Precious. It's very grounded, a little mysterious, and always gently wise, even when you're not sure what it means entirely. Both doesn't matter, but also as long as you find the right one. I'll let you make of that what you will. Another good one, if people came at you and started to scratch you, then of course you had the right to sit on them. I mean, honestly, that's solid life advice, right? That is also where she is going to use to restrain the person that is abusing Samuel. And I just think that it's a great one, and had me laughing. Here's another one. That young man will go far, she said. I don't know in which direction, but he will go far. So, again, a combination of some gentle snark, but also some love that perfectly captures the tone of the series, because she's being sincere about having a lot of potential, of course, not being entirely sure how that potential is being used. Now here's some more thought-provoking quotes that I really enjoyed. Like this one, the size of one's house might bear a relationship to the size of one's opinion of oneself, but it had nothing to do with one's real worth. I think that is something to always remember, especially when you consider a place like Botswana, where they, like I said, they have economically been somewhat better off than some of its surrounding countries. They still struggle with issues of poverty, and so you could understand why questions about class and how the size of one's house might mean something to somebody, but really, is that what you are worth? And I think that's what it's asking. Here's another one that I think, hit me just right. Late people do not altogether leave us, she thought. They're still with us in memories such as that, wherever we are, no matter what time of day it was or how we were feeling, they were there, still shining the light of their love upon us. It's beautiful, just beautiful. And then there's this other reflection. We forget, she thought. We think that we were always the way we are now, but we were not, which really encapsulates this series. It is all about growth, and I think that that's an excellent commentary, not just on growth, but our ability to forget where we began, something that is not Precious's issue, and also something that's not Grace's issue. It is something that in many ways haunts her. She is very defensive of her poor upbringing, but she certainly doesn't forget it. And then finally, here's one more good quote that I really enjoyed. And again, I thought this was a very thoughtful quote. There's a difference between a challenge and a burden. One is something you can carry on your shoulders easily enough. The other is something, a big sack that bends you double. That distinction has really stuck with me. I really enjoyed that line in particular. So who is this for? Well, this book is perfect for readers who love this character-driven story that has the element of solving crimes, but that is not entirely the focus of it, or at least the approach is much more different. And if you're here for stuff like the shootouts and the car chases, this isn't your kind of mystery. But if you want something clearly with some heart and with some humor and with an unwavering belief in kindness, then this book, and really this whole series, is something that you will enjoy. It's also a great read for anyone who loves a deep sense of place. Botswana is as much a character in these novels as is Precious or Grace. And there's several things like that, but I really certainly feel that with Botswana in particular. Never been, don't know enough about it, but I certainly feel a greater appreciation for it because of how much the characters in it appreciate their own country. So who isn't this for? Well, it's the 16th book in the series, so if you haven't read the early ones, you might miss some of the ongoing character arcs and some of the inside jokes, but I think you'd still enjoy it. I mean, the tone, the pacing, and the wisdom stand on their own, and like I said, there isn't some fast-paced thriller, so it's something that I think anyone could certainly appreciate on its own, but I really enjoy the series, and if you don't have a problem with there being, up to this point, 25 books in the series, then I recommend that you give this one a try. If not this one, go pick any of them. But hey, you can always start at the beginning, and maybe after a few decide if you want to make it all the way up to 25. I have. It is a little bit of a slow burn in some regards, and I would say it is probably best enjoyed with your favorite beverage and feeling a little comfy, maybe a slice of fruitcake. I think that it has an element of a comfort read to it, and I certainly appreciated it for that. I always feel better after reading one of these books, and I would certainly say that The Woman Who Walked in Sunshine was no exception. It is a lovely, thoughtful, and occasionally hilarious entry in a series that always makes me want to be a little kinder and a little more present in the world. If you have read this one or any in this series, please drop your favorite quote in the comments. I want to know what you guys think about this series or this book in particular, or anything by Alexander McCall Smith. Please let me know. Let's get that conversation going in the comments. If you are enjoying these videos or anything that I have created, please share it. Let it be known. The more people that see these videos and the more that this information gets out, the more of these videos that I can make. But don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and until next time, keep those pages turning.